Okay, we're going. Okay, welcome to the IDJ podcast. Today we have DJ Envy and our special series guest. We don't know how long for, but he'll be with us for several podcasts. Is DJ Tutor, Mr. Ellaskins, Jonathan. All three names. Whatever we shout one of them, he'll answer to it. Um,
Jonathan's good.
Jonathan's good. Envy has got a the topic for the day. A couple of questions that we're going to try and answer.
Okay, so to start with, I think it's important to work out how you pick a DJ for your wedding, because been doing quite a few weddings lately, a lot of parties, and when you speak to a client or a potential client, they're all unique. There's no two clients want the same thing. So how would you, Jonathan, pick a DJ for your wedding if you were getting married? What would be the criteria you'd be looking for?
I think first of all, I'd want someone, and not meaning to discriminate between old and young DJs, but I honestly think the older, more mature you are, the more knowledge you have in classic old tracks. It's just you were there. You were there when they were made, when they were released, and you played them incessantly. So I'd want someone who understood, old school, original funk, rare groove, disco. I wouldn't want some cheesy poppy kind of person who turns up and the first song they play is ABBA. And you know what I mean? And I'd want someone who, uses the mic a little bit, but mainly takes people on a musical journey. Doesn't just go, play one R&B, then play a hip hop song, and then stop the music and say, hello, bride, and how are you? And welcome to the mother's, I don't know, the bride's father and mother and all that bollocks. Just played good quality music. So I definitely, want to see some CVs and where they played and the styles they do. If you get what I mean.
Yeah. In regards to the wedding thing, one thing I've noticed a lot lately is people want more and more of the older stuff than the new stuff. And Jonathan, I quote you on this one: the top 40 is dead. You've said that time and time again, and new music all sounds the same. I'm sure you've used them similar words or them words itself. I agree with you in regards to chart music. I think dance music, which some people want at their wedding, is still decent to a certain degree, not all of it. But yeah, I mean, if I was to get married again, I probably wouldn't go down the cheesy route. I would probably have like a dance sort of thing for me, because that's what I prefer. But a lot of people do want that cheesy disco still. They don't want all the new tracks. They want a lot of the older stuff. And God forbid I say it, ABBA and things like that. I know T's had a few weddings where it's been nothing but cheesy stuff, isn't you?
Well, yeah, but going back to your question of what qualities would you want in a wedding DJ? Jonathan, I think I agree with Jonathan. Age is a factor. It's like a comedian. The better comedians are the one who are more mature, have seen life and experienced things, rather than somebody who's found a funny joke and then repeats it. It's more relatable to somebody who's older. I'll ask you a very specific question, John. Do you think you're a better DJ now than you were 10 or 20 years ago?
I would say yes, but more from a communication with the public and how to interact with the clients. Musically, I've just followed the music course as that's progressed. But as a person who can communicate more with the bride, the groom, and talking and conversing with them and expressing or talking about what they want, how they want the event to take place, definitely got better. And again, it's about the experience. Like you said, you hear some of these newer kind of younger comedians, and quite often, right, I'll listen to them just to listen. And most of the time I turn off because I think all they're doing is they're taking something that's happened and trying to make you laugh. And I'm thinking, that's not funny. Whereas you listen to the old comedians like Morecambe and Wise, those two, right? If you listen to them, they never swore. They never ever said the F word, and they still got a laugh. Whereas today, a lot of the younger comedians, F word is practically every other sentence just to get a laugh. So, do you see where I'm coming from there?
Yeah, I think like you say, I think the key thing is experience with DJs. I think the next biggest thing on how to pick a DJ, unfortunately, is price. Now, I've said this time and time again, and I'm sure every mobile DJ who respects herself as a decent quality will say it. A cheap DJ isn't good, and a good DJ isn't cheap. And that, to me, that doesn't come down to what equipment you use or what lighting or anything like that. It comes down to what you said, Jonathan, about interacting with the bride and groom. Prior to the event, making sure you got the right playlist, making sure you turn up on time, you present yourself properly, you do the brief that you've been given.
If there's one piece of advice I can give, and after this podcast, tell me if it's right or wrong, say yes or no now. And in my experience, there's one thing I found works. You can be the best DJ in the world. You can have the most kit, anything. But this is the key, especially for weddings. If you're late at turning up, they'll never forget that.
No.
Never be late. Because especially with a wedding, the bride's fucking agitated. Oh, is the cake turned up? The flowers are all right. And if the entertainment's late, they'll always remember it. So in other words, you could be late and do a wicked set. They'll remember that you were late. You can be early and just do an average set, and they'll like you, and they'll remember that you were early, and they didn't have to worry. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. I'd done a job up in Leicester. I took it on 2 days' notice. I threw a playlist together with some artists they sent over, and I was there 2 hours before I needed to be. I allowed that extra time because of the travelling. I allowed the extra setup time, just to make sure I weren't rushing around like a headless chicken, trying to make sure that I'm ready.
You said price before.
I did.
Sorry, yeah.
I would say, okay. I don't know how you are getting jobs, Jonathan. I know that you've been around a whole lot longer and you've got an internet presence. So obviously, I guess it'd be a lot more word of mouth. What we're doing, we're picking up jobs from internet websites where obviously they're advertising weddings like Bark and Add to Event and stuff like that. So we're buying a lead. Somebody needs to have a DJ, and then we obviously go through a list of criteria that they've either asked us a question or they've seen our profile, so they're taking interest in what we do. Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes it's just like, well, they're playing house music, they want house, so we'll go for that one. Obviously, we get in touch with them, and we've got to sell our services, and we've got to create a value for money. I don't think it's necessarily the price, as in, if they could afford the price, then they probably could afford a better DJ. Price is not always relating to the quality of DJ, which we've talked.
We know that clearly, though, don't we? I mean,
but I would certainly say that we need our communication, like you said, Jonathan, to create a value and not to put ourselves across if, like, okay, it's £500 and you end up doing the deal at 250, is where you're undermining your self-worth, and you could probably pick it up and it wasn't the right client for you. As much as it hurts and thinking it's an opportunity missed, that date could be taken up by the right client at the right price later on down the line. So when we're in the consultation process, obviously the client is evaluating whether I'm going to hire whoever I'm talking to. We prefer to speak to a client on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And we go through the stuff that we need to have, and they don't have any questions for us. It's like, but if it was on the other hand, if they've come to us through a website inquiry or word of mouth, you'd end up talking for 20 minutes, half an hour, and they'd have loads of questions because they're prepared. How do you find the consultation process when you're talking of,
Well, I mean, first and foremost, there's that old saying, first impressions. So I don't go in sort of jeans and a t-shirt. I go in smart trousers, shoes, and a shirt, not overdressed. So they look at me as if, oh God, you're dressed like that for the interview, for the meeting. Just casual but smart. Um, and like I think, like you said, I evaluate them as much as they're interviewing me, if that makes sense, because you hit on something that is really important, and I think this should be highlighted in this podcast. It is that a lot of people out there, what they'll do is they'll just have a client contact them and go, yeah, here's my fee, I'll do your gig. Unbeknown to them, when they turn up, there could be a load of Hindus in there, or there could be a load of Africans, or there could be a load of Muslims, and they want all this music, and you're almost stuck. So you need to find out what they want to make sure that you're capable of giving 100%, which is really important.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like definitely with music, we've turned down jobs because they want Bollywood and things like that, and we can do it, but we don't have. We could download the music, not a problem, but we wouldn't be able to give them the best value for money, because I couldn't tell you what Bollywood track is better than the next. I would have no idea. So we've turned down gigs like that.
Yeah. Did you know there's more Bollywood music sold than European music?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. There's more films than American films.
Exactly. I mean, this is it. The UK top 40 is its own little bubble. The American top 40 is its own little bubble. And in India, there's 1 billion people. Guess what? That's more people than America and England put together. They've got a fucking massive, pardon I swore, do apologize. They got a massive group of people who, all of them, they love Bollywood, they love Bhangra and all that sort of stuff. But going back to your last question, and this is something that maybe the two of you can use when you talk to people. Let me give you an analogy first, and you'll understand this. Let's say you're outside, you watch a firework display. They start off small, and then, if it's a good firework display with music, the fireworks go with the music. But let me ask you a question. What happens right at the end of a firework display?
Well, I know that typically this last one is always the biggest one. Not always.
Exactly. No, most of the time it is. Okay. So what I say to people, I give the analogy of the DJ, my services being the last firework. Because if you think about it logically, someone or a business, a town, a city, if they're doing a firework display, they'll spend a fortune on all these fireworks. And at the end of the firework display, people want to hear that big bang, boom, the last firework that's probably cost more than all of the others put together. So what I explain to clients is you've spent all this money on food, on flowers, on the car, on, the violinist as people walk in. And do you really then want to scrimp and save on someone who is going to finish your night? And that's what we are. We're the last firework. And if you don't invest in the last firework, you might as well get a sparkler.
Yeah, I make you right. Me and Dad here spoke about this before, that, we are a last fault 99% of the time. We are the people that they want to save money on, because they don't see us as an investment. And me and here have spoken. We've said, if you got a bad DJ, they're not going to remember, like you said, Jonathan, the violinist, the food, the ceremony. They're going to remember the DJ doing a bad job. That's what they're going to remember.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, especially in England, we are a last fault. If you go to the States, DJs get paid massive amounts compared to what we get paid here. We've got some DJs who DJ with us, and he gets like $2,000-3,000 a gig. We would never, ever, at the level we are, and he's at the same level we are in the States to here, we would never get that here.
No.
Because we're not valued enough. They don't understand how how important that end of night is. Like you say, it is key, because when people leave, they don't remember the whole day. It's the last bit of the evening that is important, to remind people that they had a great time.
How important are reviews or word of mouth? People giving you a word of mouth recommendation in the process of selling your services to a potential client?
100%. Again, you can put adverts in magazines, you can sort of put pictures, but when you've had like 100 people turn up to your event and 100 people leave happy, or most weddings, what you've got to think of, and this is why a lot of people don't get weddings. A wedding is completely different to 18th birthday party, because an 18th, 21st birthday party, they've got up at 10 o'clock, they've gone to work, they've gone to school, they come home, they get changed, they go out, they get pissed. Whereas a wedding, they're driving to the venue early morning, or they've got up at 7 o'clock to get their hair done. They've had a few drinks, they go to the church, it's a whole day. So by the evening, they're knackered, So it's very, very difficult to keep 100% of the people. In fact, it's practically impossible to keep 100% of the people there till when you finish. And what you do find, I've always found, maybe you're different, but I've always found, a good 30% of the people, after they've had the food and danced a bit, will just bugger off because they're knackered, they're tired. So you're only left with a fraction of the people left. But the ones who are left, if they have a good night, that's when I hand cards out and people say, "Oh, great DJ, thank you very much. We want you for our wedding." I give numbers and stuff like that. So that's your captive audience. And then when they contact you, you don't have to say, "Oh, well, do you mind, my fee is 400-500 quid." They'll just go, "We want to book you."
Yeah. You've already sold your services, haven't you? Created the value.
If you can get repeat clients like that, you're halfway there.
Well, if you think about it, if you do the engagement, you expect to do the wedding, then you expect to do the christening, yeah. Then the blessing again after 10 years.
It doesn't work.
And then the funeral.
Exactly.
But I seriously, guys, I've been in this business so long, right? I've done a wedding for someone, I've done their daughter's wedding, and they booked me to do the granddaughter's wedding. That's crazy.
Mad.
Feeling old.
You don't really hear of that very often. That's that's quite unique.
I was 56 on the March 9th.
Yeah, you've been DJing quite a long time though.
Well, my first ever gig, it was a Sunday school event, and it was 1975, and I took my sister's record player, all right? No word of a lie, 7-inch singles, and I played Ian Dury and the Blockheads, Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick, all right? But then on the flip side, there's a track called Ain't I've Been Some Clever Bastards, all right? It goes, ain't I've been some clever bastards, lucky bleeders, ain't I've been so clever. And I remember one of the people involved said something along the lines, "I think you better turn that off, Jonathan."
So you'd have been, if my maths correct, you'd have been 9.
Yes, 9. Oh, mate, back in the day, no word of a lie, my mum used to have to come and find me. I used to be up the road on my hobby horse at 18 months. No bullshit. Honestly, at 3 years old, I was opposite, living in Borth. I was on the beach, down the rock pools, fishing with my dad's fishing net. They couldn't keep a hold of me. They had to, right, on the back door, they had to turn the door handle upside down. But then I realized if I stood on a chair, I could open the door do that way. I was a bad, not a bad one in being nasty. I was free. I was out there,
Any other quality other than being an escape artist? Do we need to be a DJ? A good DJ?
But, do you know, I think the key thing to being a DJ is not music, it's not equipment, not so much on the club side, definitely on the mobile side. And I don't have a lot of these at the best of time, is patience. You need to have patience. And I don't have a whole lot. I'll openly say that, but I do take my wife, who's got the patience of a saint. She's married to me. I'm quite a difficult person to live with, to say the least. She comes and deals with all the requests and stuff like that. Because the worst thing when you're DJing, especially if you're doing things on the fly as well, to talk to someone who's drunk, and they never ever want that 2-second conversation, and you're trying to talk to them, and it's like, I've got 30 seconds, the next track starts, you're leaning over and they're still talking in your ear.
Yeah.
And I think patience, you've got to have
you're right.
a reasonable amount.
I nearly I only once last year I nearly lost. Well, I sort of did lose my patience. I'll draw this quick. I'll talk about this really quickly because we're nearly getting to the half an hour. But normally I don't swear at gigs. Really polite. It was a wedding. I had some pisshead come up to me. Oh, I'll have a go on your decks. I said, no, mate. And he stood there with a pint. He was standing there, and I said, look, can you leave? You know what it's like. You're trying to do your job. You're trying to be polite, smile, and you've got this idiot next to you. And I was like, can you go away? And I just put my hand and I moved him, and he came straight back. And I honestly thought, I've had enough of this. So I put the volume down, and I said, get out the fucking way, you idiot. Fuck off, like that. And everyone looked at me, and people started having their phones at me. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really sorry, but if you are in charge of this gentleman, can you please get him out the way? Because if he doesn't get out the way, you're not going to hear another tune until he is out of the way. And about 5 people got up and moved him out the way.
Yeah. I mean, I've never had anything to that degree, but I have had, your typical drunk person come up and they're spitting all over you. It's you've got to have the patience of a saint.
I would add one. I would add one more facet or quality, whatever you want to call it, to be adaptable.
Yeah,
and that's from the request of the bride. I did a wedding where I had to play every track. It was all given to me. I didn't have to play him in any particular order, but obviously she knew what was there. She came up and asked for a request. So literally, it was really easy from my point of view. It all works in the prep, and then just stand there and look busy. But in terms of changing it up, Envy, so many times you've gone and done this is not just a wedding, but in any form of DJing, well. You get a playlist and it doesn't work, and you have to change it up, or even you've been told to play a very certain genre, and then basically that's not working, and you have to change it up, or you have to take requests, and you have to do things you do not want to do. Yeah, and you have to sometimes your opinion's not even considered. Yeah, sometimes they will listen to you, but you certainly have to be very adaptable and think on your feet.
Can I add something to that quickly? Before we run out of time, when you're given a playlist, I'm sure Jonathan's had this as well. T, I know you have, and it isn't working. So you take it upon yourself to go, right, I'm going to do a proper job. I'm going to change the music. That works. And then you get the client come up to you and say, what are you doing? I've told you I just want this. Go back to that.
Yeah.
And you try and explain to them, I'm not being rude, but your playlist isn't working. I've done this to improve your event, to make it better so people enjoy themselves. And I've had it a few times. They went, I don't care. That's what you got to play. End of. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fine. And you go back to that dance floor, just goes.
No, I was just going to say that sometimes a playlist will work because they know their friends and family better than you do.
Yeah.
So sometimes I like the ideal words. Obviously, they give you a decent playlist, and it's enough then to work off, and then some things work, and obviously, then you can experiment a little bit. But the ones that they do give you a full playlist, like last night, I had 7 hours and 42 minutes for a 3-hour gig. Bless her.
How long? Hang on. How long did it take you to prep that set?
Well, I did 3 hours work and then 6 hours prep. Anyway, but there's a lot of thing is that there's a lot of Latino stuff. So if you want a Latino DJ, come see me because I've got a whole lot of music. But it worked because I had enough tunes to
choose
to
from.
work within, and obviously there was a lot of scope there, so I still kind of had like a database in essence. To be fair, I'm not dissing anyone who does a playlist, because sometimes they work out brilliantly, but more often than not, it's a 50-50 chance. It really.
I think the best way to issue a playlist to a DJ is to say, I want these songs 100%. I want these played. Play them in whatever order you want. That's down to you. You're the professional. You do this week in, week out. Use your own judgment, and then you put in songs around that to make the night work. Because if you're given a playlist and like, do not deviate, you got nowhere to go. You know, I done a birthday, a Halloween birthday it was, and she gave me the playlist, and I said to T, I looked at a playlist and I was like, you know, when you look at a play, you don't like the look of it. I'm like, is that really going to work? And I done 3/4 of the night with her playlist because she was just like, no, please don't deviate. And then when they got drunk, I just went off of that, like literally completely, and played what I thought would work. And it absolutely worked. And it went, the last hour and a half went really well. But first,
let's be honest. The second half of any gig is always better than the first, isn't it?
Well, yeah, there is that. Yeah. But when you got no one dancing, it's like, do you know what? They were all around the sort of 18 to 25. So you know they're going to be more into their dancey stuff. It was, you know, and the playlist was things like ABBA and stuff. And people, you know, that age, you want to dance, didn't you, when you're drunk? That's what you want to do.
Very quickly. So go on.
I just went from there straight into some dance music. Last hour and a half, absolutely smashed it, and they loved it. And like you say, Jonathan, it's that last bit at the end. That's what they remember.
Yeah.
So
completely.
That's the important bit.
Yeah, just very quickly, I've only once, luckily, ever had a playlist where I've had to play that playlist, and I said 2 or 3 times during the night, you know, and I didn't say, oh, ladies and gentlemen, this shit playlist, it was from the bride, I can't do anything else. But I have made it quite clear that I am playing from a playlist and I'm not allowed to deviate. And the amount of people that came up to me and said, can you play this, that, and the other? And I said, no, I can't, sorry. I've got to play this off the playlist. And I think I can remember that every single person who came and asked me for a track, they were like, oh, really? You know, to begin with, they were pissed off with me because I wouldn't play it. But you could see in their mind very soon afterwards, they were like, oh, yeah, it's not him, it's the bride.
Penny drops, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know, I did the same last night. I could take requests, but I only had a couple anyway, because what she picked worked very well. But I did say at the beginning, I says, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Martin. That's my real name, by the way. My name's Martin. I'm your DJ this evening. Welcome to Z's party. She called herself Z, named Zara. I says, just to let you know, she has handcrafted the music for you this evening. Yeah, for your pleasure. Enjoy. And I left it at that.
Yeah, there you go.
So basically, what you've done, you've gone, do you know what? I ain't taking the blame for this one in case it don't work.
And I do that sometimes as well. If I'm not too sure on a request that's come in, I go going out by request. It's nothing to do with me. Okay, thank you for watching the IDJ for You podcast. We've had Mr. Jonathan Alaskins DJ Tutor. Yeah, all the references. I'll put his socials below as well, so you can get in touch with him in case you want to book him. Yeah. We've had DJ Envy and myself. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff, and we'll see you in the next one. Ta-da.